The Lord be with you, and with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. As Jesus passed by, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the customs post. He said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. While he was at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat with Jesus and his disciples. The Pharisee saw this and said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" He heard this and said, "Those who are well do not need a physician, but the sick do. Go and learn the meaning of the words, and desire mercy, not sacrifice. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The greatest writer of the English language arguably could be none other than William Shakespeare. Many of us studied him in high school. We had to read his hard poetry. Many scholars now believe that this William Shakespeare was a secret Catholic. At that time period, when he was alive, it was under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. And you could probably describe that England as a Protestant police state. Anglicanism was the official religion. They actually, at Anglican churches, they took attendance, who was coming up, liturgy. And if you didn't go to Anglican church, you would be fined. Priests were outlawed. So the Catholic Church had to go underground at the time of William Shakespeare. William's mother was part of the Alden family, which was they called them the refusers. There was a name that they called us, people who refused to pledge allegiance to the Anglican Church, which was the official state religion. His mother's family were known as those rebels, Catholic papists. His father, John Shakespeare, was fined because he didn't attend the Anglican services. His daughter, Susanna Shakespeare, was Catholic, documented. In fact, when William Shakespeare died, he left his entire estate to her and not his Protestant family. And before he died, William Shakespeare bought a house which was known to have a priest hole. Do you know what a priest hole is? So during Elizabeth I's reign, faithful Catholic families would have secret holes or compartments in their house where they would hide us. Because we would have secret clandestine masses, and Catholics would sneak in order to receive the Holy Eucharist. Later on, when they were looking through Shakespeare's house, they recently found hidden Catholic pamphlets in the walls. So William Shakespeare was probably one of us. Why did Shakespeare write poetry, playwrights? He was captivated by human love. If you think about it, what is love? It's a great mystery, this love phenomena. When two people choose one another. Think about that mystery. I mean, I know we say this because it's part of our fabric of our lives, but take a moment, reflect upon the mystery of love when one chooses another. You ever been in love? Oh, it's one of the most powerful forces. It is a hurricane. If you've ever been in love, especially when one chooses you. This great mystery of love, which Shakespeare tries to encapsulate with his playwrights and with Romeo and Juliet, it's utterly amazing. When someone looks upon you and says, I love you, ravishes the heart. Matthew today, the great saint we celebrate, he himself is captivated by this mystery. Matthew is the first gospel we have. So remember the 4 gospels. Matthew was the first writer. He composes this beautiful gospel which we heard today. And the preeminent theme of Matthew's gospel is grace. Why grace? It says here, which we just heard, Matthew sitting at the customs post. Matthew was a tax collector. And as Jesus walks by and he says to Matthew, he looks upon Matthew and he says, follow me. In other words, Matthew, I choose you. Now remember, Matthew was a tax collector. So what does that mean? It means that Matthew was ugly. He was hated. He's a tax collector, so that means he's in cahoots with the Roman Empire. And tax collectors at the time period were known to be traitors and greedy. They took more than they were owed. They betrayed their family, their friends, their very own people. So Matthew, in the eyes of everybody else, was that he was filthy, dirty. And yet here comes this Jesus and says to Matthew, Matthew, I want you. And this stunning choosing of himself caused this amazing reflection upon, like, why, Lord? Don't you see who I am? I'm ugly. And yet you choose me? The mystery of love. Captivated why Matthew now would be the first writer. Because he had to write this down. I have been chosen by God as one of his apostles to write the Gospels. I must convey this reality to everybody. How could he not write? How could not Shakespeare write? Once you encounter the love of Jesus Christ, the heart now swells. Matthew would have wondered for the rest of his days. It said that he would go off into the east and to evangelize. Oh, Matthew never gave up. It is because what Christ saw him, which he could not recognize in himself. Matthew, you are my beloved. I choose you because you are worthy. You see, that's what love always does. It makes us worthy, even when we think we're ugly.